People assumed it was just another eccentric experiment by some northern housewife with too much time and too little sense. But when visitors stepped inside Maria Telkes' home during the brutal Maryland winter of 1948, they stopped talking and started sweating. The house sat in Dover, Massachusetts, not Maryland. I misspoke. And that matters because Dover was where this actually happened. Where the snow piled high and the wind cut through wool like it was cotton, Maria Telkes wasn't a housewife at all. She was a Hungarian-born scientist working at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And what she built in collaboration with architect Eleanor Raymond was just unusual. It was something most engineers at the time said could unwork for more than a few days. They called it the Dover Sun House, and if you looked at it from the road in winter, it seemed like any other modernist box, all clean lines and big windows facing south. But underneath those windows, behind the walls, Telkes had installed something that made her colleagues shake their heads. She'd filled the walls with Glauber's salt sodium sulfate decadrate. If you want the chemical name packed into drums and metal containers that lined the interior like a secret cargo, this salt did something strange when it melted and when it froze. It absorbed heat, stored it, and released it slowly, predictably, without any furnace, without any coal, without any fire. The idea wasn't entirely new. People had known for over a century that certain salts could store thermal energy through phase change, but no one had ever tried to heat an entire house through a New England winter using nothing but the sun and a wall full of salt. Most thought it was foolish. Winter sun in Massachusetts is weak, low on the horizon, often hidden behind clouds for days. Even if the system worked on a clear December afternoon, what happened at night? What happened during a storm? Telkes had thought about this. She'd done the calculations. The Glauber salt could hold on to heat for hours, even days, if the insulation was right and the containers didn't leak. In theory, the house could stay warm through the night, through the clouds, through the kind of cold that made car engines seize and water pipes burst. But theory and a Massachusetts winter are two very different things. Eleanor Raymond had designed the house with Telkes' specifications in mind. The south-facing wall was almost entirely glass. The roof overhang was angled to let in winter sun, but block the high summer rays. The salt bins were integrated into the structure itself, hidden but accessible, so they could be monitored and, if necessary, repaired. It was elegant in a way that made it seem simple. But simplicity in engineering usually means someone spent years working out the problems no one else saw. When they finished construction in 1948, the local newspapers ran small stories. A solar-heated house, a woman scientist, an experiment. Most people didn't pay much attention. Solar energy was a curiosity, something for desert research stations or tropical military outposts, not for a place where January temperatures regularly dropped below 0 Fahrenheit. But then winter came, and the house stayed warm. Visitors walked in expecting to feel that familiar chill that creeps into even well-heated homes when the wind picks up. They expected to see the family Amelia Peabody, the sculptor who agreed to live in the experimental house as a test occupant, huddled near a backup heater or wearing extra layers. Instead, they found her children running around barefoot. The indoor temperature held steady around 70 degrees, sometimes warmer near the salt walls, even when the outdoor thermometer read negative numbers. People didn't understand it. They wanted to see the furnace, the hidden oil tank, the trick. There was no trick. There was only sun, salt, and physics. But how long could it last? The first winter proved the concept. But it also revealed something Telkes had fully anticipated. Human doubt is harder to melt than Glauber's salt. Even as the Dover Sun House kept Amelia Peabody and her children comfortable through January and February of 1949, engineers and architects who visited came away skeptical. They'd felt the warmth, yes, but they wanted to see the data. The temperature logs, the fuel savings, calculated against a conventional oil furnace. They wanted proof that this wasn't just a lucky season, a mild winter disguised as a triumph. Telkes gave them the data. She'd been recording everything since the day the system went online. Indoor temperatures, outdoor temperatures, the phase state of the salt, the amount of sunlight hitting the collectors. The numbers showed what she'd predicted. On clear days, the salt absorbed enough energy to keep the house warm for up to 3 days without sun. On cloudy stretches, the stored heat gradually declined, but it declined slowly. Far more slowly than a conventional house would cool if the furnace failed. Still, the skepticism persisted. Part of it was technical. Glauber's salt had a problem. It didn't always resolidify evenly. Sometimes it would crystallize in clumps, leaving liquid pools that didn't store heat efficiently. Over weeks and months, the performance could degrade. Telkes knew this. She'd been experimenting with additives and nucleating agents to encourage uniform crystallization. But it was delicate work, the kind of problem that didn't have an obvious solution. Part of the skepticism, though, was something else. Maria Telkes was a woman in a field dominated by men. And while MIT had hired her and supported her research, the broader engineering community didn't quite know what to do with her. She'd already invented a solar-powered desalination unit during World War II, a device that saved the lives of downed airmen and sailors adrift at sea. She held patents. She'd published papers. But solar heating a house felt too domestic, too small. Even though it was technically far more complex than most of the heating systems being installed in post-war suburbs,